What's up, y'all? This Hammer here again. Today, I'm gonna be talking about Horn of Africans. And for those who don't know, Horn of Africa essentially are the four countries of Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Ethiopia. Right? They make up the Horn of the African continent. Right? That's what the Horn of Africa is. And today, I'm gonna be talking about those who live in those four countries, who encompass that region. Now, some people will say, well, Hammer, why don't you just say East Africa? Well, once again, the reason why I don't say East Africa is because, once again, East Africa includes black countries like Uganda, Ethiopia, etc. So to be more specific, I just say Horn of Africa, right? And so today, what I'm going to be talking about is some of the issues I see with Horn of Africa and why did it tend to be separated from the black collective. I had this conversation before, and by the way, shout out to Kaiser, I was on his panel today, and this even came there too. Because I don't think Horn of Africans even did understand why they're separated, right? Number one, you guys are a confused group. The amount of times I've had to ask whether it's an Ethiopian or an Eritrean, are you black or you're not black? Every time I ask them these questions, the answer will differ, right? See, if I ask a Nigerian, if I ask a Ghanaian, if I ask any person from a black African nation, the answer is very unanimous. Yeah, we're black, right? Now, of course, they'll say their tribal names, right? Oh, I'm Igbo, and that's fine. But they recognize a black. Only when it comes to the Horners. Now, here's the thing. We already know that when it comes to North Africans are purely not black, right? North African, essentially, the vast majority of their genetic lineage comes from the Mediterranean and from the Middle East, right? In fact, that's the reason why we say that, like, they're not even indigenous to the African continent. Because when you look at their genetic lineage, it's outside of the African continent. It's not even indigenous, right? But that's another conversation. But going back to Horn of Africa, you guys are a confused group. See, if I go to South Africa or Zimbabwe or Angola, I ask them, are you black? No issue. Of course, they're gonna have the tribe, but there is when you go to most black African nations, sub-Saharan nations, right? They have no issue saying that they're black, right? And of course, we know North Africa is not black, so that's not a question. It's only when we walk into the Horn of Africa that we start getting all this, I guess, all over the place answers. Some will say yes, some will say no, some in the middle, right? And of course, to be fair to them, the reason why they're confused because, well, there's no way to really answer that question. See, a lot of black Americans, a lot of black folks may not know this, but the Horn of Africans, are in a very unique position because they're a highly admixed group. Although it is undeniable that North Africans are not black and essentially are not even indigenous, Horn of Africans are essentially an admixture between indigenous black people and folks who came from the outside, largely Arabs, right? Maybe some European. And so because of this admixture, they've become this sort of, confused group that can't be put in any classification. If they go to the Middle East or to the Arab world, they're told they're not Arab. If they go to Europe, they're told they're not white European. If they go to Africa, they're told, if they go to black African nations, they're told you're not black. And so therefore, they have sort of come together and made this kind of unique identity of them just being Horner because they know because of the massive amount of admixture, they can't fit anywhere, right? And so, it's crazy because I remember like early on, I think this year, I made a video about this Eritrean chick in the UK. And she was talking about how she struggled because she would identify as black, but most black people in the UK will not accept her. Why? Because when you look at folks from the Horn, because of how admixed they look, they don't have most of them do not have traditional what I call Negro features. very straight, no, like, you can tell the mix. And so she struggled being accepted as black because wherever she would go, folks say, "No, you looking real mixed, right?" Now, some folks will say, "Well, there are black folks out there who have some admixture and they're considered black." That's fine, but here's the fundamental issue, right? When it comes to the Horn of Africa, the vast majority of them are admixed. And it's to a point at which it's almost, I will say for a large percentage of it, it's almost 50% non-black DNA. 50%. It's like, you don't see that almost anywhere else, in any other black group. And so the reason why they're separate, because they have an incredible amount of admixture to a point in which that they have a reputation of just looking different. So that's the first reason why horns, in my opinion, are separate and why they're a problem, because once again, due to their admixture, they're a confused group, right? And the same way we exclude North Africans, we also need to exclude the Horners as well too. And don't worry, I'm gonna make a separate video addressing North Africans and the shit with them too. That's another video, right? That's the first one. The second issue when it comes to the Horners is how many of them, how can I say this, right? They will look down on unambiguous black people because of their exotic features. I've said before, right? Because Horner Africans are highly admixed, right? They typically do not have what I call the traditional Negroid black look. And so therefore, because of this, they get more recognition from non-black people, and they tend to sort of look down, or I guess, put their noses up when it comes to black folks because they think that they're so beautiful. And I'm like, no. The only reason you think you're this good looking or you're this better looking than unambiguous black people is because you're highly admixed. And non-black people, have essentially pedestalized you because of your non-black admixture, right? And so, in addition to them being highly admixed group, right, and them not being able to fit anywhere, they also have this superiority mindset because they believe that, hey, because we have this high amount of non-black admixture, that makes us better than most black Africans, right? So that's another issue. But a third issue, which I think is also equally as bad, is how many of them easily will throw slurs at unambiguous black folks. And I am specifically looking at you Somalis. Now, for those who may not know, when it comes to Somalia, right, Somalis have this term called Jaria. The term Jaria, I'm trying to educate you guys, right? The term Jaria is meant to describe those who are unambiguously black, folks who look black, right? So when they say, "Oh, this person's Jaria," they're saying, in other words, they're saying this person looks black, right? They will use this all the time to disparage black Africans and just black people in general. And the funny part is, Somalia, and I hate to say this, right? But really, Somalia is a shithole country. And I say that literally, their country has been getting torn up by Al-Shabaab for so long. And many of them have fled to black nations, for safety, especially Kenya. And so it's very funny that a nation that literally is known for being one of the most destabilized countries in the world, even has the audacity to make a slur about black Africans, about the black diaspora, when Al-Shabaab is literally raping your country apart. And you guys have to flee to black nations. But this is the stuff we got to deal with. So, to recap the video, right, the problem that I have with Horn Africans is very simple. One, due to the fact that they're very, they have a lot of admixture, they're a confused group. And they're all over the place, right? You can't put them anywhere. They're not Arab, they're not white, they're not black. So they become this kind of weird buffer class group that, in my opinion, is better to just be left alone and excluded from the black classification. Okay? The second thing is, because they're highly admixed, they think that their non-black admixture makes them superior to ordinary black people, even black Africans, even black diasporas. And they do, and they will show this all the time, right? Oh, look at our light skin, our straight nose, our hair. Like, what are you talking about? They will try to because non-black people pedestalize them for having non-black features. They will use it as a way to, I guess, look down, or I guess make themselves feel as superior to, pure black people. And of course, thirdly, many of them do have slurs they throw toward black folks who are unabusively black, like Somalians, right? The whole Judea thing. And so, because of these problems, I stand on what I said on Kaizo's panel, which is that no, the same way the black diaspora and black Africans need to exclude North Africans, we also need to exclude the Horners. And hopefully, this video, I've been able to explain my reasons why. But with that being said, y'all, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think in the chat. And with that being said, hammer out.